How are you guys doing? Victor, nice to see you. I don't think I saw you last week.
No, happy belated Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Benny, Michael, Yvonne, Alma, of course, Mauricio, our superstar. Can't forget him. Seems like we have a couple more people joining us right now. Yeah, for those of you that are already on, if you guys can turn on your cameras, don't be shy. We're one big family here. So let me see who we have. Amen. Hey, Reynold, how's it going? Mauricio, if I'm not mistaken, you're the one that just got started, right?
Yeah, I did.
How's it? Do you want to share a win with us? How has it been going for you?
I sold my first canvas. My friend's picking up to tomorrow. So that's a win. I sold my first canvas.
Nice. Did you hand paint that, or how'd you do that?
The DTG.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
The only problem is I don't know how to get this top part get painted. And I did it 3 times, but I think this top part doesn't want to be painted on.
Like when you have it, you're saying when you have it like all the way to the top, it won't print on the top.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can make that bigger. Because typically with that, if it's not printing all the way in and you have it at zero and it just starts right there.
Yeah. Someone told me on Facebook to lower down my canvas and then
Yes, that's actually what I was gonna recommend. Because that looks because typically when I was doing it, I had to lower it, but
Mhm.
that seems like it might be like half an inch, right?
like maybe like a half an inch.
Yeah, so then that way, you do some more testing. One way that I would test that, especially since you don't, use up your canvas, if you have extra like white cloth or light cloth or maybe an extra t-shirt that you can cut into that size,
Okay.
you can just place it over the canvas, and you don't even have to print the whole thing.
Mhm.
I would just crop maybe like 3 to 4 inches tall, because what you're trying to do is get it to start right at the top, and you don't want to necessarily have to print. If you're doing a couple different test prints, you don't want to
Okay.
be doing you don't want to be doing like the whole print, uh, because your goal is just to get it to start on the top. So you can even do something like an inch tall. Like if you crop that design and it's only
Hmm.
like an inch tall, you put a piece of fabric or a t-shirt. Then that way it lets you know how far down you need to move it just to get it to start right there.
Okay.
Mhm.
So just like okay, I got you.
Yeah, so it can be like an inch, 2 inches tall, and then
Hmm.
you move your canvas a little down, put it put it like a cloth over it, and then because you can literally print on the same cloth over and over, because all you're trying to do is get it to print exactly on the top portion.
Yeah. Also, I got my first company logo image kind of thing, but I don't know. It's like it doesn't seem like I feel like it's bright enough, but I feel like it's not gonna paint well with the white shirt. I'm not sure, guys. 'Cause I'm afraid to put this down on the shirt yet.
You got to get rid of the background.
Yeah, that's why I'm not trying. I'm still struggling to figure out like because like it goes back and does it, and I just don't know why the OmniPrint does. It's like the printer itself keeps putting white highlight when I don't even put it. Like I don't even put it on the rip system, but it'll still come back and put the white background.
Yeah, you got to transparent your logo.
Okay,
Transparent. You're printing that white. You got to make your logo transparent.
okay. So I
Yeah,
just gotta
because
edit the photo. I just gotta edit the image. Okay, got it.
yeah,
Gotcha.
because if you open it up as a, like, let's say as a JPEG, it's
Hmm.
gonna it's gonna automatically have that white background, that white box. And like what Reynolds was saying, if you have it as a transparent PNG file, it won't print that. Um, let me put my email on the chat. Let me see here. Post and kind of like email me the
Yeah,
file and I'll help you out.
I just want to quickly find out what program are you using to create the design on?
I went to canvas.com and then used their little template site kind of thing because it's free, and I was like, all right, well, they got things, so that's what I used.
All right, yeah, just wanted to know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've heard of Canvas. I've never used it. I don't know if it has a way for you to save the image as a transparent back, to remove the background, save it as like a PNG file, because you can do it as a JPEG. You can only do it as a PNG.
Yeah, it's a PNG. This is a PNG.
You either have to select transparent. I know you got to pay money if you wanted to do the SVG, which is probably the method you want. So you're gonna have to kick in a little bit there. That's at least my clients do it, how they do it.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, my budget's almost at zero, so I gotta cut corners where I can.
Do you have Photoshop or you're just using Canva or Canvas?
For Canvas, no, I just got lucky. My friend just sent me the image on a text message, and I just kind of like blew up the image on the RIP system, and I just got lucky. It came out like okay.
Yeah, like what Victor was saying, because one of the orders that we're actually going to be printing live, it's funny that you mentioned that the customer actually created the graphics on Canva. I'm not sure, is it called Canva or Canvas?
Canvas.
So yeah, we're going to be doing an order. We're going to be showcasing it. The customer actually designed it on Canvas. He's not super professional, and he did send it as a transparent, because you can have that graphic that you have, Mauricio.
Mm-hmm.
But if it can be a JPEG with a white background. It's gonna allow you to download it as a PNG, but you're gonna be downloading a PNG with a white background anyway. So try to see if there's a way to start where it's like a transparent background where it doesn't have anything on there.
Gotcha. That'll be my homework for this week then.
Yeah, you can use. I would recommend you YouTube it. When I was starting out in printing, I didn't know how to use Photoshop. I didn't know how to do a lot of things. And my YouTube University, that's pretty much where I learned everything. So I would go on YouTube and put creating transparent logo on Canvas, and I'm sure you're gonna be able to find something like that.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I'll more look into it. I just thought, okay, well, if the printer should keep doing that, I just thought, okay, cool. I just thought, well, I guess I just have to work with it. But if you're telling me that's not the case, then I'll just do more research.
Email me the file. I put my email in the chat. Email me the file, and then I'll take a look at it.
All right, no problem. All right, thank you.
Yeah, because I think with the paid version, if I'm not mistaken, you're able to download it as a high resolution as well. But if your file is good resolution, the one that you send me, I'll remove the background, and then I'll send it to you. That way you can see the difference.
All right, cool. Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely email you at some point.
Yeah, but that's definitely a big win. Especially doing a Canvas, printing on Canvas. That's definitely a big win.
Hey,
Yeah.
Edgar,
Yeah.
on the canvas that he printed, he should probably check his margins, and that could be why it's printing down so low.
Good point. When you're printing in your settings, Mauricio, on the top, does it say 0? Like
Yes.
On how it's gonna start down, it says 0.
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing I changed was when I watched the live creator live on Canvas, I changed the setting exactly how he had it on top. So like I changed the strength of exactly how that stream was, and everything else I didn't really touch.
Yeah, his margin should be the only issue. Go down a half inch on your margin, or
Like just
quarter inch.
go to margin, go down an inch, and then it should be okay.
Yeah. Or whatever it was that you saw that light part. Measure that white up there at the top, and then put that margin exactly like that, and you'll be perfect.
All right, cool. All right, but I'm saying for first try though, I'm still happy with this.
That look good.
Yeah, my buddy was happy when I sent this. He cashed out me $25, and so he's coming tomorrow to pick it up. So I'm again still.
Was that pre-made? Was that pre-treated canvas?
No, I took the solution
You
and
actually
I went to
pre-treated
Lowe's.
the canvas and then did it?
Yeah, I went to Lowe's. My dad bought me these $1 paintbrushes,
Okay.
and I went on YouTube, and this guy, I forgot his name was, but he showed it how to do it by hand, how to treat the canvas.
Okay.
And then I similar to the DTF, I had it hovered for 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then it dried like instantly, and then from that, it came out like this. So
okay, Maurice.
Yeah, all on our first try.
Let me make one suggestion to you.
Mm-hmm.
When you pre-treated your canvas, but they do sell pre-treated canvas. It's been working for me. When you get the canvas, you don't even have to pre-treat. All you got to do is put it in your printer and bam. You feel me?
Yeah, I couldn't find them on Amazon though. Like when I put pre-treat nothing came up, so I just didn't know where to find them.
I'll figure out which one I got and I'll put it in the chat like y'all be doing me. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for sharing, Mauricio. We have Benjamin, Lorenzo, Sun Lee. Anybody else want to share, a win that they might have had since the last week? No, it doesn't have to be a big win. Victor showcasing what he's doing. Since we haven't heard from you in a couple of weeks, Victor, you have any wins you want to share with us?
Just happy to be on this side of the ground. You know what I mean? Always. Yeah. No, just it's Christmas, and sales are going, and I've got like 10 more days, 12 more days to get everything out so that people have it in time for the holidays. So that's my win. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, I know. I remember, putting in the holidays. It's like it's a plus and it's a negative all at one shot. Especially if you're, burning the night oil, having to print, long hours, and that kind of ties into the subject that we're gonna be talking about today. Is setting your customer expectation. But before we get into that, anybody else have any wins that they want to share with us?
We got our I2 printer yesterday.
Nice.
And we have set up for tomorrow morning to do the training.
Oh, okay. You guys are doing another training on it?
Yeah, well, he's going to do a Zoom call to set it up.
Well, they updated the machine because ours was one of the first ones produced. So they had to do a lot of upgrades on it. So we have to be trained on the upgrades.
Okay, that's cool. Once we move the camera, we use the i2 in the fulfillment area. So, definitely, once you have it rolling, it's definitely a good asset to have.
The other thing I wanted to suggest to Mauricio is, when you have a lot of R&D to do, one good thing is if you go on to like walmart.com and put in white fabric, you can I found fabric on there 2.5 yards for $5. So or if you find sheets that are marked down, stuff like that, because that gives you a bigger area that you can work with and you're not spending a lot of money.
Oh, Joann's, I've gone to Joann's. I'm not sure if you have one in your area. They always have discounts. We were doing testing on the embroidery machine and I had to go get some thicker material. So that's the first time I had gone to a fabric store, Joann's. So, I felt a little intimidated with all these, older crafters just giving me the stare down on what am I doing in their store. So that's a good resource, Joann's, they have good fabric. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And what the topic for today is I want to talk about, setting your customers' expectations, especially since we're going into the holidays. And I know I have it on my list, but since Victor mentioned it, is uh, his goal is that if I heard him correctly, is sending out those orders on a timely uh, manner or on time, so the customers receive it, for the holidays, especially a lot of the stuff is their gifts. Um, and that's why the first thing I have on my list is clear communication of your services and your capabilities, and you want to be transparent about what you can and cannot do, especially right now that we're going to the holidays. You know, some of you guys, if you find yourself in a time crunch, and I always would have, you know, tell my customers and people that I train is like, if you take an order that you can't afford to refund it, don't take it. You know, because you might get a big order and you're like, oh man, I need to pay the electric bill, I need to pay my printer payment, I need to do this, I want to do that, but you're not sure if you're even able to do it, and you get the order and you waste the money. You know, you have to face with a refund. So I always say, or even for myself, you know, there's orders where I would be printing for like Uber or Coca Cola, and they wanted something. I remember specifically for Uber, they wanted this large order. It was like something crazy, like 50,000 pieces. They wanted it split into like so many different cities. They wanted it. It was an all over print for screen printing. So, you know, Michael and Yvonne, I had, you know, that's the kind of stuff that, you know, if you're not familiar with all over printing, you need a with a belt printer, which are humongous. Not that many people can. So it's like I'm all like, and I bid for it. I'm all like, you know what? If I get it, it's like it's gonna shoot me in the foot. And luckily, you know, I didn't end up getting that bid. And if you know, if I would have gone it, you know, it wouldn't have been a good day for myself, because you know, once you know, because when you're dealing with large companies that have different vendors, and you know, you put a bid in there, and I was happy. You know, I thought I was gonna be sad, but I was pretty happy. I'm like, oh man, I felt relieved. So that was kind of my lesson. Like, you know, that was on the large scale, and I've had it on the smaller scale as well. Like, you know, when I was starting off, like a $500 or $1,000 order, and it's like, oh, I need it for my kid's birthday party this weekend. You think you can do it? Then I'm like, you know, unfortunately I can't. I don't have any shirts. There's been times where if I had enough time, I don't know how many of you guys can relate to me. There used to be warehouses, you know, before they closed down, like SMS Activewear, Alpha Broder. They used to be in, you know, the Orange County area, so I can order it, drive down, and get it within a couple hours. So that used to be, you know, my last resort. But it's kind of like, you know, setting those clear expectations with your customers, and also on your capabilities, because you might be able to hit a deadline. And I'll give you an example. I was talking to a customer yesterday. He has the free jets. He has two free jets. He does direct to film with them, and he does direct to garment. And he was doing a 100-piece order where he's doing direct to garment on the front, and he's doing direct to film on the sleeve. And you know, it was he told me it's a simple design. It's a couple colors. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been even one color. But the dilemma that he was having was that, you know, the color on the sleeve that he was doing direct to film didn't match the color that was on the front of the shirt via DTG, direct to garment. So I told him, I'm all like, you know, for future reference, or even for this order, if you can, I would tell the customers like, hey, you know what, printing on sleeves, you know, we're doing two completely different decoration methods. The colors are gonna be slightly off. Uh, Setting those expectations so they know. And he said, oh, this is a customer, I've been doing printing for them for a long time. Uh, what can I do? And on the sheet that I shared with you guys yesterday, and if you guys want me to, um, last week we were talking about, you know, AI and using AI for creating graphics, and I shared a Google document that had it, and I'm actually adding what I'm talking about today. I added it to that. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be adding more stuff to that document. So it's gonna be increasing. My camera looks like I'm going into the matrix. I'm disappearing. Um, so I'm gonna be adding more into that. So if you want to put your information on the chat, I'll share that document with you guys. And what I the reason I was talking about that document, because on the very top I put a Google Drive link that ties into what I shared with this customer, which, you know, in that Google folder I have different files for printing swatches. And if I'm not mistaken, Benny had mentioned this in the past as well, where, you know, you have a file, you can print different shades, and I told the customer print one via, you know, direct to garment, one via DTF. Then that way you're able to do some color matching, to kind of get those colors to line up more. So that's one way to do it. But I told the customer, if you set these clear expectations with your customer, then you don't have to go through this process of, and I told them, I'm like, the only time I had to get really creative with color matching with direct to garment was when I was printing for Coca-Cola. They're very picky with the red. Um, so that's the only time I have to print like a bunch of different shades of red and try to color match it with direct to garment. But other than that, I never had to experience that. So, and it boils down to if you have a customer, because when I was doing a lot of fulfillment, we didn't have direct to film, but we were doing direct to garment and screen printing. And I'm pretty sure Michael and Yvonne, uh, you might have a customer that like, hey, we want this logo in the front and in the back. Uh, can you color match DTG and screen printing? And I would get that a lot. And I'd be like, you know what, screen printing is different. Plastisol inks, direct to garment water based inks. So it goes to setting those expectations, as far as your decoration capabilities, your turnaround time, especially, if you're doing screen printing, embroidery, definitely make sure to, share that with your customers. The next thing I have on here is, accurate and detailed quotations. You want to provide, detailed quotations that include, the pricing, turnaround times, any additional costs like design services, rush charges, because, when I got started, I used to do a lot of stuff via text, via email. I would talk to my, friends, customers, and I would give them a price over the phone. And when it came down to paying, it's like, oh, you didn't tell me about this, you didn't tell me about that. You told me it was gonna be, 1 week. Now it's gonna be, 7 to 10 days. So it's kind of like having an online ordering system is gonna make a huge difference. You know, I'm part of the work software development team. The features that we have with it, are the ones that, I specifically uh, built into it because, when I was printing for myself for about 10 years, I used to use a different company. It used to, cost me quite a bit of money monthly. And it was a pretty big, intense system. There's a lot of good things I liked about it, some that just didn't apply to me. So when I started working with our software, I'm like, okay, let me implement, from my experience of production, what I like, what I don't like. And, once you're giving your customers quotes, via an online system or even having a website where your customers can go online, look at your pricing, place their orders online. It just makes it so much easier. You have all the details on there. But if you're in a situation like Mauricio that we were talking right now, where he's on a tight budget, it's definitely making sure that you're super organized. Have if you want to have like a Google Doc. I used to have a checklist for our customers, for our customers that I would share the information. If you want to put your email on there, I'll make sure to add the checklist to the document I'm going to be sharing. But it was literally a checklist as far as like you know the need by date, the quantity, the pricing, anything special about the order, and I would have like a check. You would check it off, especially when you're dealing with rush orders. I would have situations where a customer would be like, "Hey, I need it in 3 days. Can you make it happen?" So I had my checklist. So I'd be like, let me. My camera's acting up. I have a higher definition one, but that one's for whatever reason not connecting. But I would tell the customers, I'm like, hey, give me 5 minutes. Let me check to see if I can get the inventory fast enough. Uh, you know, it's gonna be. I remember I had customers where I'd be like, hey, you know what? If you need it in 2 days, it's gonna be like a 75% rush charge. If you need it, next day, if I can get the inventory, it's gonna be twice as much because I'm literally giving your order priority. And I would have customers be like, yeah, no problem. I'll pay that. And then there'll be customers who are like, hey, I really need it in 2 days. And I'm like, hey, I can rush it for you for, 50%. And be like, oh, you know what? Actually, next week works out. So like once you give them a rush charge, all of a sudden they find more time. So that's kind of, I'm not sure if you guys have dealt with that in the past before. Um, but that's where it comes to having a checklist, uh, which is going to make it super easy, when you're setting those expectations because you don't want to get yourself in a situation where you're the vendor that it's always good if you can, turn around an order pretty fast, but you don't want your customers to get used to like, hey, that's kind of like, let me see if I can shift my camera. So you want to set those clear expectations on your turnaround time, because you don't want your customers, like if you do them a favor and you do it something same day, 2 days, and they think that's your standard, and then once you try to throw in a rush charge, they're like, hey, well, you always do it fast for me. What's going on? Um, so you definitely want to have those expectations, because I remember when I was first starting off, and I can relate to, Mauricio. He was talking about he's on a super tight budget. That was me by myself. I had my own office, bills, lights, anything you can think of has happened to me. I've had my power turned off. I've had this. I've had that. I've scrambled when I was starting off, and I remember there was this one customer that, he was always very intimidating, always very aggressive with me. He was like did printing for sororities, and I remember one time it was my birthday, and I was like literally on the road. I'm gonna drive to Vegas for my birthday with my family, and I kid you not, I was like, he called me as I was on the car to drive. He's like, man, you're closed. I'm at your shop. I need this order. I need a rush. I need it right now. So here I go, Mr. Nice Guy. I drive to my office. I open up. I start printing his order. I literally do it on the spot. It took me like 3 hours. Literally by the time I was done, I could have already been in Vegas. And then, long story short, he never paid me for that order. So it's because I didn't have my ordering system down. I didn't pre-charge them. So, why am I sharing this? Especially for some of you guys that are newer, you want to make sure that you collect that money up front. You set those clear expectations. If somebody wants you to, print on the spot, and you're able to do it, do it and charge a premium. I remember.
Excuse me, Edgar. Sorry to interrupt, but quick
No
question.
worries.
I have a guy who he's trying to get me to make it as because he wants a prototype for me. He's like, oh no, I'm not gonna pay. I'm not gonna do anything unless I get a prototype. Which I made a prototype for him, and then I did it 3 more times because he didn't like it when I made him, and then he did like the green that I ended up making for him, but he hasn't contacted me back. So I was wondering in those situations where they were asking, hey, can I see a free sample? Can I see a sample? What could you do for me? Right? Like, how do I avoid, or did you like, oh no, I'm not doing that? Like, what in those situations?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. This kind of ties into what we talked about last week. What we talked about last week was creating, artwork with, artificial intelligence, AI. So that's what you created that he liked.
Yeah, he liked it. Then like he never got back to me. So now I got an image that I can't do with.
Yeah. So, tying into what we're talking about right now, never do free work, because that'll happen. I forgot which customer I had talked to recently where it was the same thing, where it's like, I did all this work, I did variations, and then they just never got back to me. So, definitely always have an art chart. It'd be like, hey, it's gonna be uh $35 an hour, it can be $50 an hour. I need to pre-bill you for the first hour. You set those expectations. It's like, hey, I'm not gonna give you any revisions. It's just hourly based on what you tell me. On the document that I shared, there's AI resources that we shared, which you can, share them with your customer and be like, hey, you go online, you use AI, come up with a design that you want, close to it, and we'll use that. Or you can pay me, $50 an hour. And Victor has his hand up. So Victor, if you have any pearls of wisdom you want to share.
Yeah, so all I wanted to say was like that happens all the time. When you have your mistakes, if they're sellable mistakes, keep them because they're samples. You may have put the design on the wrong shirt or something like that. That's a sell. You can't sell it to the customer, so you can keep it and you can show it, and then that shows what you can do. And the other thing is like sometimes I'll get people who say like, oh, I want to order 100 of these jackets, but can I get 3 samples at first? And then I'm like, sure, yeah. So what I do is I charge them the regular price for the sample, and then tell them like if you order the other 97, I'll credit the difference on what I charge you on those samples towards the other 100. And if they're serious, they'll stay. If they're not, then they paid full price and they got the 3 sweatshirts they really wanted.
That's definitely good advice. What Victor was saying, it definitely makes sense. You can always two options with that art that you could create. You can add it to your portfolio, and you can have that DTF where you're right there. You have it. It's like, hey, this is something like. Because I'm not sure if the types of customers you're selling them the DTF sheets, or you're just selling them the printed goods.
I made a DTF just saving $1, so I wouldn't waste a shirt. That's why I used the DTF. I don't know that was a smart move on my part, but I thought it was just cheaper to use the DTF paper than wasting a t-shirt.
Yes. You can heat apply that DTF on a garment, and like Victor was saying, that can be like a sample, like in case you want to show it to your customers. You be like, hey, this is a graphic on piece of art that I created for Joe down the street, and this is something that I can do for you. It's gonna be $50 an hour. If you want me to create art for you. So how do you normally create your art?
This is what I'm using right now as my portfolio. This shirt right here. This is what I got from an AI image.
Oh, okay, so you already played around with AI, right?
Yeah, I paid for 1,000 images for $30, so I can make whatever I want.
So the truth comes out. You do have money.
I mean, I have certain budget for certain things. I got cut corners when I can, right?
Yeah. I always say, the first guy to cut corners invented the wheel. So, so that's good. For future reference, you can give, there's free AI resources that I'll send to you in the document. But if you have customers that they don't want to pay, I had a lot of those, starting out in my career. If there was AI available, I would have just been like, hey, go on there, create whatever graphic you want. I need it as a transparent PNG. As you give it to me, and I need to edit it, it's $50 an hour. So you already set that expectation, because you're gonna have those customers that they don't want to pay for anything, and I'm gonna use Benny as an example because he's really good at graphic design. He's really experienced on what he does, and I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, Benny, you've had a lot of people that might have wanted free work from you. And how did you set those boundaries with your customers? When they wanted a freebie.
Well, as far as the boundaries goes, I normally don't send any. I mean, I do the design so that they could see, but I don't send them any files. I show them. I usually have like a Dropbox, the service where you can actually send somebody a draft, and then it'll print draft right across. Because a lot of people sometimes, you send them the file, if the person is willing, they could reverse engineer and steal the design where it's something that you already worked on. You have to be really, really careful with that. I mean, so I don't know if Mauricio, I don't know if you sent your clients or anybody the actual files, but I would just be very wary as far as, showing, well, if you already printed it on the shirt.
He brought me the logo. He brought me the logo and asking me, hey, could I put this on a shirt for him, for his company? And I was like, all right, and then again, that's just me messing with the settings, and I was able to make that happen. But then he never got back to me.
Right. I mean, the other thing is, for every customer, you're not going to print every shirt just to show them, hey, this is what I could do, because you're going to waste shirts, you're going to waste ink.
I'm starting to realize that now. Like, because I'm doing that too much.
Yeah, I mean, just give them so much, but don't give them everything if they haven't even paid you. So you just got to be really just think about, just think outside the box and see what other what other ways to show them. I mean, I bought, on Amazon, there's these napkins, it's like a 17 by 17 polyester napkins. They're called like wedding napkins or whatever. And I usually print, they want to see it, I show them and I could actually give it to, I mean, show them to them in person or whatever, but yeah, I guess every scenario is different.
Thanks for sharing that, Benny. You know, my rule of thumb is always charge up front, for anything that you're doing. That way you're always covered, and that way, if a customer is not willing to pay for your service, then they're not the right customer. I know you're starting off. I can relate. You have to pay the bills. There was a lot of orders that I would get. Then my IOU started raking up, and I had customers that they just went dark on me, never paid me, and I had to learn the hard way. Uh, so you definitely want to, if you charge and you want to charge, like if you're an established business, don't charge because there's I used to work with other print shops where they do screen printing or they do direct to garment and their printer was down and I would help them out and they'd be like, well, my ink is 75 cents, this and that. I'll pay you $1. So I'm like, no, that's not how it works. So you want to have your pricing like if you're an established business because do it like if you're your first employee, you're paying yourself, you're paying your office, you're paying your machine, you're paying everything. And I always say for direct to garment, if you can charge $10 a print, that's really good, because if you're doing retail, there's customers I talk to that they do retail printing or they print for their own brand. That's like the best case scenario. Or if you do wholesale printing, when I was doing high volume, I was down to $6, but the sweet spot is 10. If you can charge $10, that's a good price. If you can charge more, if you're dealing with the end customer, because I used to do wholesale, but if you're dealing with like, hey, I need it for my birthday party, I need it for my friend, then I would say $15 is a good price, plus the cost of the shirt. So if you're around $20, that's a good price. And then I know Michael and Yvonne, you guys.
I'm glad you said that. My sister-in-law wants me to print her a shirt this morning. She said, I'm going to give you $15. And I gave in on that. So actually, I'm glad that you said that I'm not getting scammed for $15. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, but she got you on the spot printing. That's a premium deluxe with
she has a Cricut. She has a Cricut at her home, so she does similar what I do.
Okay, so that's good when you can help her out. You're starting off. Because there's customers that would give me a lot of work, and sometimes they were in a tight squeeze, or be like, hey, I just forgot about this order, or the customer changed their deadline. Can you help me out? So you can always help out customers, but you don't want to deal with the customers that on every order they want you to bail them out. So that's good that you helped out that person and be like, hey, definitely I can print it out. Next time I'll, give me a couple hours or a couple of days. Or if I do it on the spot and I have to stop something else, I'll do it for $20. But if she's doing it on a Cricut and then she's reselling it to someone else, that's kind of something that you need to take in mind as well because, if she's doing it and then she's going to sell it to someone else, you can't charge her $20 and then she has to charge 30, $40. It's going to add up. So it's kind of like if she's reselling it, that's a good customer to have because you can get, continuous business from those. And I would reach out to screen print shops in your area, embroidery shops in your area, and be like, hey, I do direct to garment, I do direct to film. If you guys need anything, hit me up. That's like the easiest way to start getting business.
So the only companies I've worked, so there's some marijuana companies. I'm in Maryland, so there's a lot of marijuana companies that are popping up because marijuana's been legal for almost 2 years now. So, and a lot of companies don't want to deal with them. And I'm me by myself. I got nothing to lose. So I'm heading up the marijuana dispensary. Hey, I can make your t-shirts, and so that's what I'm doing right now is cold calling and emailing these companies. Say, hey, if you need a t-shirt guy, I'm your guy. So far, I got 2 responses, but I haven't heard from the 15 people that emailed so far.
What I would do is because you want it's like that's a good a lot of like you said there's maybe taboo and those types of customers, but I used to do printing for everyone, especially when it that kind of stuff. I used to print for Democrats, I used to print for Republicans, I used to print for all types of religions. So I definitely didn't prejudge or anything. And those were, I had a lot of customers that had their own dispensaries. They want their own apparel. They pay in cash because they collect cash a lot of times. So what I would recommend, uh, get their logo, especially like if you're starting off, you have your printer, you have time. They're like, hey, send me your logo. Let me add it to a T-shirt. Let me show you what I can do. Yeah, you're gonna print out a T-shirt, and it's like you're gonna show them what you can do, but you're trying to get their ongoing business versus, like let's say somebody says, hey, I just need one shirt. Can you give it to me for free? So that's completely different versus, like there's a lot of customers that I would do work with that they had contracts with schools and universities, and they would share that the way that they would get their business, they literally would go to the schools with pre-printed merchandise with the school's logos and be like, hey, this is what I can do for you. So if you have dispensaries in your area, call them and be like, hey, I do printing. Let me get your logo. I'd like to show you what I can do. What size T-shirt do you wear? Do you want give them like I remember when I took my first marketing class, they're like, you always want to give them an option between like two options, pretty much. Hey, what size do you wear? Do you want it in black or do you want it in white? Do you want it in large or do you want it in extra large? So they have to pick something. When can I swing by? Does tomorrow work or the following day? Don't give them a reason to say no. But that's good that you bring it up. That's a good way to get business right there. And then a lot of times, dispensaries they have their own merchandise that they resell. So get hooked up with somebody in your area that does screen printing, embroidery, because a lot of these places, I remember I used to next door to me there used to be a company that they would sell vaping oils and stuff like that, and they would order a lot of apparel from me. Um, but they used to do a lot of screen print orders. They would buy in bulk, so I would screen print their stuff. So if you have a dispensary, they're like, hey, we want 200 shirts, we want 300 shirts. It's a one color print. Our guy normally does it for $8, and you trying to compete with DTG or DTF. Maybe DTF you can compete, but that's where you'd be like, yeah, no problem, because you already have your screen printing partner in your area. You already know his pricing, you know his turnaround, you've worked with him. But the advantage with DTF now is that you can do a bunch of logos on the sheet and just transfer them. Versus, when I was doing production, that was literally like DTG versus screen printing. What's gonna win? So I don't know if that answers your question, Mauricio.
Yes, it did.
Cool. So let me see where oh, Michael, and Yvonne, you guys never chimed in.
Oh, that's okay. The only thing I was going to say was we had a young man that we had done work for his father for many years, and he asked Michael if, he could put this, that, and the other in a logo. So Michael came up with something for him and showed him, and he was like, oh, that's really cool. Well, about a year later, he calls up and he says, can you send me that file? I need it for something. And it was like, when you pay $75 for it, we'll be happy to send it to you.
That's good. And that kind of ties into, setting those expectations, billing ahead of time. Even like what Benny said, you show them add a watermark on there. Um, you know, shamelessly, I've gotten images online and removed the watermarks on Photoshop. But that was just for testing purposes. But if you're working with somebody and they said, and it's a graphic artist, and I used to work with a lot of artists. Their time is important, um, and you want to build, especially as your skill set increases, you want to build for it, because there used to be graphic artists I would work with. Some of them were like $30 an hour, some of them were $75 an hour, and I normally would work with the $75 an hour because they can get it done in 1 hour, versus the other company it would take them 4 hours, 5 hours, and I'm still not 100% satisfied with it. So you definitely pay for what you get for. So definitely if you're good, like you showed that graphic, Mauricio, that you did on AI, you're good at creating that stuff. Definitely charge your customers. Quality, that's one of the biggest things. when you're dealing with your customer, set that expectation as far as quality. Because when I was when I started doing direct to garment, this is before there it would literally be me, and then if I went on Google and typed in direct to garment somewhere, I was in Orange County, there maybe be somebody in the LA area. Now you type in direct to garment, is like boom, they're everywhere. The thing that set me aside was my quality, and I would let customers know. I'd be like, hey, my quality is the best. I use the best inks, the washability, they're bright. Oh well, I can get it $2 cheaper down the street. I'm like, perfect. Hopefully, I apologize that I wasn't able to help you on this one. Definitely keep me in mind for the future. And then I would do that, and customers would come back and be like, hey, you know what? I went down the street. The customer service was horrible. The quality wasn't the best, and they would come back. So don't be scared to turn business away, because a lot of times, it would come back one way or another.
So on what you just said as far as quality, I had the same issues the other guy had. I thought I had so many people that would buy shirts from me and this and that, but then they want a sample. They want you to do their artwork. I was charging them $50 for artwork. So now they got to bring me the completed artwork. But when I'll look at it and say, okay, this should come out right. But if you brought me the artwork, if it don't look right on that colored shirt, that's on you, But my point was, what you said is quality. If you're doing good quality, then even if you lose a couple people, you're going to get more people, because all the silk screeners and all the other people doing stuff, they're not doing 5 shirts, 3 shirts, 7 shirts. So you being able to do short amounts is your niche, to where that's where long as you're doing them good, they're going to tell other people, because it's so many people trying to start their own brands and this and that, to where they need the short runs, and everybody's not doing that. So just make sure your short run is good quality, and you're going to lose some, but the ones that's serious about building a brand, they're going to keep coming back to you if you can give it to them with good quality. That's all I
agree with that. I definitely agree with that, Reynolds. Victor, you had your hand up?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So one thing I also want to share is, think about it on the opposite end. So when I was first starting out, I was signing up a lot of the different schools around my area, and I got this one middle school my kids went to, and I did everything I could. I created a whole line for them, on-demand embroidery, on-demand clothing, and I don't charge for my services up front. I get it through the sales, and they're supposed to promote it. Well, they wouldn't really promote it, and so I'd get maybe 2 or 3 sales a year, but put in all this effort to building the site. And I would do this year after year, and every other year, a new merch director would come in, and they'd have all these ideas, and they want all these other designs. And I'd always try to temper that, but I'd do it. And I just got an email from them 3 days ago saying that on the end of this year, the end of the school year, they're going to stop services with me, and they're going to go with someone else that they want to go with. And at the end of the day, I was really polite, and I was just really happy that they'd go. So sometimes you got to let some of these customers go, because they cost you more on the front end than what you're actually recuperating on the actual business. And I did everything I could to satisfy them. They're not satisfied. And at the end of the day, I know they think that I probably didn't do enough, but they weren't producing enough either. And I'm not going to be confrontational about it. Just be like, wipe my hands from it, wish them luck on the best. And if they need anything else in the future, let me know, and let them go. And honestly, you can spend your time doing things that'll build your business more than sometimes customers are just drains, and they have the best intentions, but they just don't have a product that sells. Don't just try to keep them in the portfolio for the sake of keeping them in the portfolio. Sometimes you just got to let them go.
That's really good, Victor. I definitely agree with that. Definitely, if it's not adding up, if you're losing money, definitely don't be scared to let go. Or if it doesn't make sense, because sometimes you, like Victor was saying, he might have a customer that is in his portfolio, but if at the end of the day, you're not seeing real returns of servicing that customer, then don't be, scared to let them go. And we have a couple more minutes left. Alma, see your hand up.
I have a quick question, and I want all of your guys' opinion. I have a TV station that wants to do a trade. I've never done trades with people before. I don't know, being so small, if that would even be worth it. If somebody was asked, if a TV station was to ask you, would you do trade for embroidery? What would you say?
Oh
This is,
man, I've been
so they're gonna film a commercial for me. They're gonna run me on TV, but at the same time, I'm thinking it's like thousands of dollars.
Also, they want a huge order.
Well, she said that I don't have to do it all at once, but they would want a contract where I'm producing chess pieces, embroidery for their people that are on the channel, and in return, they would put me on air. But I'm not sure what
I've
you
been
guys
in those,
suggest on that.
yeah, I've been in those situations. I remember one of them was the old, good old bartering, right? One thing for another. I remember one of them was, a search engine. They're like, hey, give me your apparel. I promote you in my search engine, or something similar to what you're saying. What I would do, it kind of ties into what I was saying is like if you can't afford to do it, then don't do it. The way that I would approach them, you're talking to a TV station, unless they're like super small, like they can't afford anything, if they can't afford to pay you, then that's a red flag for me because most of the time you're talking about TV stations, they, the people that buy the merch,
That's
they
kind
just
of
drop
what
it.
that's kind of what I
Uh-huh.
started feeling like. I mean, we know her. She's been a longtime friend. She works for the radio station, for the TV station, and I get the thing about trading. And if it was just her and her 3 or 4 shirts, whatever, and she wanted to do a trade and she can get me in, that's fine. But I feel like then they're not going to be paying me. They're pretty much giving me something for something, but in the end, they just put me on air and I have to produce articles and pay for the thread and the backing and the merchandise. But then at the same time, if I get into the radio station, I mean into the TV station, and I pull clients out of it, but how do you get
What
pulled
I would
clients out when you're doing a trade?
the way that I
I
would
would,
approach this, especially if they're on TV, be like, hey, you know what? I'll give you 4, I'll give you 5 for your crew. Let's run a commercial, promote me. This has to be a win-win situation. Hopefully, you guys can showcase what I'm going to be doing for you guys, and I want to be able to get orders up front. But unfortunately, I can't commit to thousands of dollars. It's kind of like I would put it back on them, where it's like, you guys run a TV network. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna operate for free. I'm pretty sure if you had a
And
sponsor
I
that
know
works for
how
you,
much their ads cost and things like that because my grandparents own a pawn shop, so we ran with them before and we know how much it costs because I used to do their contracting for them. But
yeah, you
they
can
want
turn
me
it back
to
and be
give
like,
them this list
uh-huh.
of a la carte type things. But I don't know if any of you guys I know I've messaged some like Michael and Yvonne and Victor on, have you ever like given a price sheet? Does anybody do that? Because for me,
so
it's work to sit there and put an Excel sheet together, and this is the price for that. This is how much the thread count for 50 cents a thread count, and all this other stuff. But does anybody in this group do something like that where they give an a la carte sheet or they post it up on the wall? I
No,
don't do
so
because
that.
I know the industry standard is a
Yeah, I
dollar per thousand,
mhm.
but if they're asking you for a la carte, they want to be able to say, well, you said, this crest print was going to be $5 and it's got 30 different colors in it. Well, that's a problem,
Yeah,
especially since your machine probably only does 15 colors.
yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't do an a la carte because that can end up biting me in the behind.
so Alma, the way that I would approach this, there's a couple things going on here, and there's a double-edged sword part of it. So I don't mind doing trades, but I trade at full retail, but consider what my costs are at wholesale. So if so that those kind of dollars help make it work. You kind of have to know what it is they're giving you, just to say that they're going to give you airtime. Not all airtime is equal. So if you're at the 3 o'clock in the morning spot, you're not going to get anybody. That like if you were in the 3 o'clock in the afternoon spot. If you want to give them an a la carte menu, I would absolutely do that, but I would limit it to whatever items. Like I wouldn't just let it be whatever your heart desires kind of a la carte. It'd be like it's these 3 shirts with this design, or these 3 polos with this design, and then they could do that, and you would give them wholesale. You give them retail credit for those sales, but you got a wholesale. Or maybe what you could do is you could say, look, I will, instead of giving you full credit, let's just do 50% off of the regular retail, which would cover your cost of the hard goods plus a little bit more. And that might be a way for you to get in the door. The other thing, though, that I would be careful with is you really have to understand who you are. If you are willing to do a primetime commercial and it's, I don't know what size the market is, and all of a sudden you have 100 phone calls or you have 1,000 phone calls, are you going to hurt yourself by not being able to manage that or not? So if you want to take it on, be ready to scale if that's what you need to do, because if you don't, you're going to turn everybody off. You're going to be out all that product, and all that publicity just kind of went out the window.
Yeah,
well, I would plan on doing all. See, the thing is that, and then I have to think about that too, because I'm not going to do thousands of orders on my little machine. That would be something that I would have to outsource. It wouldn't be something that I can do in-house, especially on embroidery.
You would need to have outsourced partners. And then the other thing is, is this nationwide that they're doing, or is it local?
No, it's our local. It's 3 local channels. 3 local channels.
So you don't have to worry about somebody in the East, because where are you located state-wise?
I'm in the Central Coast, California.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you might not worry about somebody ordering from New York and stuff like that. So
no, it's local. They're local here.
Yeah, it's like Victor said, it's like a double-edged sword.
I don't do trades, because to me it just, pay for the product. I personally never really have ever been into trades. It's just you pay for the product or whatever, then I pay, I'll pay you, you give me a discounted price, and then to me that's better than trades.
It's a matter of trade with who, though. And that's why the TV is
like there's an adult store that we used to own, an adult store, and then they wanted to do a trade. I'm like, what are you gonna trade me? I don't do trades with you. Like, what are you gonna possibly give me that would be beneficial to me? There's no trade there. There's nothing that you can give me a trade there.
It's only when it's a win. It's only when it's a win-win. Like, as an example, somebody in the chat just put. Let me see who put it on there. I think it was Murray. Or somebody put that they traded, printing for Jeep tires, So when it's like, I've traded stuff before, but it has to be a win-win, and you have to be able to afford it. I'll give you an example. My cousin, he owns a cabin in Lake Arrowhead. He owns a medical. They do pharmaceutical research. So I would provide them like $1,500 worth of polos for their staff. It would probably cost me $500 to do it, and I'm all like, hey, it would cost you $1,500 to buy it. I'll give it to you for the $1,500. I'm gonna stay at your cabin for 4 days. Normally he rents out his cabin for like almost $1,000 a night, because it's a huge cabin. So it has to be a win-win. It can't be like, hey, cuz, he's my cousin. He's like, hey, cuz, can you give me like 10 grand worth of printing, and I'll let you stay one night in my place. It has to be where it's like, for me, it was a no-brainer. So it definitely has to be a win-win.
Okay.
And like I said, if they have to be willing to pay up front, give you something up front, because you don't want to do all this free work, all this upfront cost.
I've gotten burned and blocked from people that have ordered stuff and the stuff's just sitting there. They didn't pay. But from now on, when people order things, I send out a Square invoice and they have to pay it before I even start it.
Exactly.
I've gotten so burned this year, completely burned. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars of people just, oh, well, I'll pay you next week. I'll pay you next week. Well, the bill still come in, and I mean,
Yeah.
from now forward, it's just if somebody puts in an order, I automatically send out an invoice. If they pay it, they pay it. If they don't, then they can go on the end of the line. I just
Yeah, definitely
can't do
pay
it
to
can't
play.
do it anymore like that.
What I would do if I were you, I would be like, hey, I'll give you 3 to 5 pieces for your, for your anchors, whoever's gonna be live on TV. You know, promote me. If I get some orders, then we can give you some more stuff. But I'm
Okay.
I'm not gonna give you 10 grand worth of printing up front. Be like, I'll give you 5. It's kind of like same thing that I was sharing with Mauricio number one before he left. Is like, if you want to get that customer, give them a couple free items, especially if it can be potentially beneficial for yourself. I mean, that's a good way to test it out because if they don't even want to do that, I'm like, sorry, yeah, you're gonna have to find somebody else to take that hit.
Mhm. Yeah, she was telling me that there was other embroidery shops that want to charge a lot of money for their embroidery. And I don't think that the embroidery shops around here charge that much. I feel like they're kind of pretty much priced close to what I price my stuff at. I just don't my embroidery machine that I have it's a Ricoma. I didn't get the one. I had already bought this one before you guys came out with yours. So it doesn't really run very much. It doesn't pull its weight. It's my only employee that doesn't pull its weight. And so I was thinking maybe that would be a good idea, but at the same time, I also thread is up the roof right now, and the backing and everything else is so expensive that I just don't want to throw myself. But thank you for all your guys's advice. I've been sitting on this since Thanksgiving because the day before Thanksgiving was when they sent me the message. But I'm gonna have to sit down and make an informed decision on what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we put your email in the chat, Alma. I'm gonna update the Google document that I've been sharing. I'm gonna actually share the folder of my old price list when I was because a price list is pretty standard for embroidery, screen printing, direct to garment. This is what I charge for 20 pieces, 50 pieces, so I'd count. So a price list is pretty standard. It's kind of like you go to McDonald's and they have the price list
Yeah,
pricing. That
I
kind
know.
of stuff is pretty.
I've just never gotten around to do that. I know I do some for like the different teams that I'll put like a shirt, a t-shirt, v-neck, sweater, hat, beanie, and then that's what I send out. But this one wants like the embroidery stuff, which
Yeah,
the only time I offer a price list is when I do wholesale, and its price is only
Yeah.
for the art. It doesn't include the garment because the garment is unlimited. You can go crazy making price lists all day, but at least along the art side, that I have, and I think I showed it when I did my thing, and it's just by square inch. If your design is X square inch, it's X amount.
if you send them something like that where it's just the artwork and they decide that they want to bring in their own polo, you still honor that price?
I will honor the price in the polo, but I do tell them that if I mess up on the polo, I'm not placing it.
Yeah, I have that. I have my forms for that. I don't place.
Okay, guys, so we pretty much come to that time where I always start off about what am I gonna talk about for a whole hour, and before this is the reason that we're here, bounce ideas off each other, grow. We were able to help a couple different people, and hopefully next week we'll do the same thing. And I'm not sure before we check out, anybody else have anything that they want to add? I definitely appreciate all you guys that participate, stick around, show up every week. It seems like we don't have anybody that wants to add anything. Matthew, Mauricio, big high fives to Matthew for getting Michael and Yvonne their printer. They're super excited. Mauricio number 2, do you have anything you want to add? Cool, that's a wrap, guys. Well, I definitely appreciate you guys joining, and you guys have a good one.